Hello everyone, and welcome to Kickstart, a show where we profile startups and the stories behind their founders. Today I'm joined by CEO of Swyft, Gower Smith. Gower, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Patrick.
Why don't you give us a little story of your background, where you come from, and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I grew up on a sheep farm in New Zealand. Went to boarding school and started in the bottom class and worked my way up. It was pretty hard work, and so out of high school they helped me find a job on the local radio station where I studied electronics and music, which I was interested in. It was a 4-year radio engineering program. I had to stay 2 years, and day after that I joined a rock and roll band as I was really the sound guy, but using technology to do some cool stuff.
Fundamental part of the band.
I was in my teenage years and was interested in travel, so I joined the band. We were lucky to win Battle of the Bands a month later.
Wow.
And then spent a year traveling, ended up in Australia. I was really a geek, I guess, interested in microprocessors, knew that they were going to change the world and the applications. So I studied microprocessors at a couple of Melbourne universities, and during that time found a crazy guy that backed me into my first company, which was Computerland in Melbourne. We opened the first retail store, selling technology to consumers.
Yeah. So your startup experiences kind of happened in Australia there. How many startups have you been a part of?
About five now that I've founded.
Wow, founded 5 startups.
Right.
This guy's got a lot of knowledge. Let's listen to him. So what do you think some of your biggest lessons you've learned while starting a company?
I was lucky in my first 2. I had a silent partner that gave me the capital, so you need capital. And a good idea where you're really solving a problem that exists in the marketplace. At that time, I was really green. I was 19 years of age. I knew that microprocessors were going to change and that there was application, but I didn't know how or what. So we had a wholesale company that we bought product in at the right price, and we set up a dealer and distributor network. At the same time, had a retail business that opened and operated retail stores. And so we were very competitive in the supply chain. We sourced well. But there wasn't a lot of intellectual property. I guess my first lesson was that one of the great brands I represented was Apple for the first 5 years in Australia. That was in our distribution company. We had great success in both the wholesale and retail business early on. We're in the right place, the right time. But Apple came in 1983, and there was no big payday. So my first lesson was, I'm going to build some intellectual property.
Yeah, there you go.
Solving a problem. All I really knew then was what I'd learned in my first 5 years of operating 2 companies, and we automated all the processes through an ERP supply chain system. So that was probably my biggest success. I sold that 4 years later.
Seems like automated processes is a little bit of a story of your life, huh?
Yeah, I think you need to understand that there's a need for what you have in the marketplace. If that exists and you've got a better way of doing things, and using automation can clearly create efficiencies and an economic model that is better than what existed before. So that's kind of been my focus is, solve a problem that exists, make sure you have a unique and competitive position in the marketplace, ensuring that how do you make money solving that, you're going to have customers that engage and prove your economic model, and then have a large enough market to create a real business. Yeah.
Now, all these concepts sort of go along the idea of being investor ready, right? As an entrepreneur, as a founder of a company, these are things that you have to think of at the foundational stages of building your business. What kind of advice or lessons do you have about being investor ready?
Well, the further you can be along in the process, obviously the better outcome. So first of all, I think the more proof point that you've got of your idea. So, when you have an idea, you have to somehow get proof. So maybe don't leave your day job until you have developed or prove, is it a technology challenge that you're trying to solve? Is it or can you get some sort of data point? I've always sort of been driven by data that you're going to get traction in the marketplace. And to me, the further along are the dogs eating the dog food, are the customers engaging? Are they actually, the hardest thing I think is getting your first referenceable customer. And then I think the second hardest thing is getting your first referenceable customer that's paying under the business model that you want to scale.
Yeah.
And once you've got that, then sort of scoping the size of the market and beyond having the technology and customers, it's the team, I think. And being investor ready, you've got to have a team or have a knowledge of what you're going to use the capital for to get to the next stage.
So you said something interesting there about having a customer pay at the scalable price that you want the company to be valued at. Have you ever undervalued your product or your services? And how did you kind of backtrack and sort of like revalue the company?
We've given product away to
prove. I think it's something that you kind of need to do at a foundational stage at startups.
So early on, I think you want to get customers to engage. So you might fund the CapEx, for example. We have a very capital efficient model in our business today, but in Zoom Systems, which was my first company here in the US, we used equity to fund the CapEx. To basically give our customers an OPEX model, just a monthly fee, and the model worked. It took friction out of the process, but that was a capital-intensive business, and so we got lessons learned in the next generation where we now have a very capital-efficient model, but it still gives the customer that same frictionless OPEX model.
So great segue into Zoom Systems. That was sort of your first big company, would you say, that you founded? Or
I would say all my companies in Australia, I think,
all high growth.
They were all high growth tech companies, and they all achieved a leadership position in the segment. We were very much in niches. So the first was the retail of technology, the wholesale distribution of technology, in ERP, supply chain, PC network software. We were a leader. I sold that company to a company that went IPO. Actually, they if I knew a little more about how to take up the IPO, maybe I would have had a better outcome, but it was a cash deal for me. I was in my late 20s. It was a great outcome.
Probably felt good,
felt good at the time. And then they got into trouble. They were primarily a laser printing company. And it was a sort of hot tech company in Australia. And the biggest shareholder called me a year later after they got in trouble and said, would you lead the turnaround if we buy it, which we did, and we sold that to Lexmark. So that was actually a pretty successful, large, but all Australia's small. It's less than 10% of the US. It's a very small market. So being in a leadership position in Australia, we're still building small companies by scope of what we can do here globally. So after that, I did run the Asian region for Gestetner, which was the parent company, and which was eventually sold to Ricoh. And before we sold the laser printer company, I pioneered. We had a problem that was we weren't making any money in the printing supplies in the toner, and
not making money is a problem in any company.
Well, particularly when the main business I was running in Asia, 60-70% of our business was recurring supplies. You sell a copy machine at cost, and then you live off the supplies and service over the lifetime. And we had no margin and no significant supplies business in the laser printing and inkjet technology business. Canon and HP were making all the money. So we engineered a long life product, and we called it Boomerang because the idea was instead of disposable cartridges that you'd throw away and create landfill, which was an environmental problem, we created an environmentally long life product that actually, because we could put long life componentry, it was better quality prints, it was more reliable.
Very cool.
It actually gave you more prints. It was locally built, it was green, and it was 20% lower in price. So we absolutely cornered the Australian market in printing supplies. So we became number one. Took it into Asia, and the problem I had there was, sorry, it's a long story, but I'll just because it's sort of just a segue. But the problem I had was we're getting tens of thousands of these that we were shipping into the market. We had to get back for our economic model to work. Because if we got the components back, we broke them down to component level and could reuse some of the components and reduce cost in the second and subsequent manufacturing process. So we created a supply cabinet that I put in the big corporate offices, so the Australian tax office, Coco Ramsden Shell headquarters, Prime Minister's Department, PricewaterhouseCoopers, all the big users,
Mm-hmm.
I would pre-stock, audit all their machines, office copiers, faxes, printing machines, put all the toner and ink in the supply cabinet and program it so that they had to put something in to get a new one out.
Okay.
So we could change behavior instead of trashing and creating landfill.
Mm-hmm.
And we would monitor it and we would remotely collect and resupply and bill. So it was a really efficient supply chain. And with that, actually Hewlett-Packard came and visited me and we tried to figure out why we'd suddenly become number one in the Australian market.
Mm-hmm.
And as they said, they weren't happy that we were taking food out of the mouths of their children. But they became great partners for us. And I had this vision that we could put guided selling and credit card payment and turn it into automated retail. And so with all my previous sort of background, that's what we did. So with HP as a sponsor, I brought that idea here and raised capital and launched Zoom Systems. So we actually founded the company in 2002 and launched in 2005 here in the US.
Very cool. So what was the journey like from Zoom Systems to Swyft? Can you explain that story for everybody?
Okay, well, Zoom was actually a great experience. It's the first company, actually in Australia, we don't really have a vibrant venture. We didn't at the time. I had to mortgage my house. Lucky I had some success in my first company and could kind of be an angel funder of my subsequent ideas. So most of my companies were bootstrapped. And it's hard. You're always capital constrained, but it does create a great discipline in the way you do things. But it's different. At Zoom, I had the experience of raising over 100 million of equity behind my idea in 5 rounds of funding and had great investors and very smart board of directors with financial institutions and venture investors who were all very smart business people in their own right. So it was a great experience for me. We launched in 2005. We created a channel for Apple in airports, and a year later we onboarded Proactive and built their retail channel, and then Best Buy signed on, and we had some of the world's largest brands and retailers that signed on, and I had quarter-on-quarter growth pretty much from 2006 to 2011 under a very predictable model where we were collecting a rent check and a clip of the revenue, sort of a SaaS model, but we had a burn rate. So without that investment of capital, we couldn't have built the back-end automation platform and all the services we needed. But by 2011, we finally crossed over and it was EBITDA positive. And by that time, my biggest investor had raised money out of a fund 10 years earlier and was keen to sell. So I handed off management to people that I was looking, sold down a little bit, but gave up my controls and stayed on the board to be supportive and was looking for a big payday, which never really happened. But the company had a couple of great years, and I was a little frustrated that you worked so hard to get the company to a level where it was actually profitable and generating cash and wasn't totally in agreement with how the proceeds were being invested in the future. So I had a view of how this business could continue and become huge, and I think today retail automation is a very hot topic, and I could sort of see that future happening. And 2013, I guess after discussions and sort of feeling my views weren't being accepted at the board level, decided to invest in Swyft. And initially Swyft partnered with Zoom and created kind of the new stuff for the future. Zoom didn't end up being a great partner for Swyft, and Swyft, after I'd exited both Zoom and was just really an investor and providing guidance to the 3 co-founders at Swyft, I raised a small fund, and then when we were looking at deal flow, I had to go at buying Zoom back and failed in that and decided to go in and actually operate Swyft. I saw a huge opportunity. So January 2016, I went in as CEO of Swyft, not just an investor, with Richard Hashem, who's also an investor, came in as president. And it's been a fast ride since then.
I bet. So for those of our viewers that are unfamiliar with Swyft Stores and sort of what you guys are doing, can you kind of explain the hardware, software, managed services aspect, what exactly Swyft is and does?
Sure. So, Zoom Systems was sort of first generation, and you probably know us through, you see the Best Buy kiosks in airports where you can buy Bose headphones or a charger for your iPhone. And or the Benefit Cosmetics cute pink bus, or the Uniqlo stores, you can get a fleece jacket, or through Europe, the Nespresso stores. So that's was really what we coined automated retail. We had a completely automated store that was very efficient, higher sales per square foot, no real estate risk. It was completely automated, but really the key was the back end platform that we developed to automate all the process, to keep those up and running, to keep them in stock, to keep them well merchandised, all the data analytics. So that was sort of Gen 1, and Zoom did a very good job of building its position. And we were primarily we had some of our clients engaged, like Nespresso as a technology. We were a technology provider, and they did the operating. Most of our clients, we were a technology and services partner end to end. So we would actually go out and secure the real estate, we'd deploy the stores, we'd manage the replenishment service, everything. But we would pass those costs through to our client and basically get a net technology fee and services fee. So that was Zoom. The difference with Swyft was that, well, the key with Swyft was that we were generating, when I handed Zoom off, about $80,000 a year per store.
Oh, wow,
the key of creating a new automated retail channel is make money for your customers. So our end customer is the consumer. We're very focused on delivering a fantastic consumer experience. But at the end of the day, we have to make money for our customers. So as long as our client made money, I don't know too many CEOs that don't want more. If you're delivering double-digit EBIT and you're delivering a great brand experience and you're making money for them, they generally want to scale. So that's been the key. The problem we had was that our model was great at $80,000 annual revenue. The vending machine in the US at the same time was only delivering $4,000 to $5,000 annual revenue. So we were more than 20x. Yeah. And my team wasn't really focused on when we would take a store that in an airport would deliver north of 100,000, put it in a 200-room hotel, and it would deliver 20 or 30,000. They'd call it a failure. And that bugged me because we were still six times what a vending machine was doing. And there was a model there that we knew the more we could reduce the required revenue for our clients, the bigger the market opportunity was. So that's one of the focuses of Swyft. And when we launched in the US, we launched with CVS and Google as our two initial clients. And we'd proven that a $30,000 location would be highly successful for a customer. And we could also see tens of thousands of locations, not just...
So how did you go about proving that to a company as big as CVS, that you could deliver 30,000 from one location or 80,000 from one location?
So first of all, we do a pro forma P&L model. Actually, back in the days of Zoom, and now I didn't mention, we are one company. We acquired Zoom back November 1, 2017. So we now have Zoom and Swyft as a group. But in the days of Zoom, before we actually had brands and retailers partnering with us, we had to be a disruptive retailer. A bit like when Amazon launched, they were selling product direct to consumer in a very efficient way. Well, that was our model for the first year. And I decided to do electronics in airports, and I decided to do convenience retail in hotels and travel venues. So we had data from nearly 100 locations, primarily hotels, where we were selling less than $10 average ticket transaction and meeting needs that travelers had when they stayed in a hotel. And we were delivering 25,000, 30,000 annual revenue. So I knew that the model, and I had a lot of data. So we're very data-driven on the back end. And so it was that reference point that we were able to engage. Actually, Richard Hashem reached out to CVS and found the right team there and presented from the data and ideas we had. And they basically said, they're a very innovative company, and they're willing to test and learn. And if it works, then it scales. But if it doesn't work, they'll shut it down. So we were fortunate that the first locations we put out, if it's delivering double-digit EBIT and hitting the economic metrics, it's great for the CVS brand, a way for them to build their presence. And they're a really amazing company. So we're very fortunate to have CVS as an early partner, where we're able to take CVS and give an automated store that we can now put in venues beyond their existing footprint. That's great for their brand and their consumers, and we see a big future in that project.
What's your engagement with a new customer like? Obviously, you're working with companies like Best Buy, Nespresso, food and beverage, consumer electronics. How do you guys customize your automated retail solutions to fit what the client needs?
So there's a pretty standard process that we apply. Typically from a kickoff to launch is a 4 to 6 month process, and that involves developing the assortment. Often it's a collaborative process with the brand teams of our retail or brand partners to bring to life their brand. We're very brand true, and they often have data from their existing other channels, and we have data, and we collaborate, and we come to life in the field with, and then it's all about looking at the data of how consumers respond, what they're looking at, what they're engaging, what need we're meeting, and the data tells us a lot. And then at the back end, our data really helps drive decision making to improve the offering over time.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So obviously Amazon, being the giant that they are, Amazon Go stores, they're sort of pushing the technologies on automated retail and the automated retail experience. How has that helped you guys, but also been a serious competition that you guys have to sort of battle with?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time because Amazon, great company, and what they've done is amazing. And the online giants, not only Amazon, you look at China with Alibaba, JD.com, the online giants are investing in retail. And because we know for the last decade or more, we've had a more efficient model. We've proven that. And it's using technology and automation. We've built this system. So we built a back-end system, and we have a system that can help brands and retailers do what Amazon and the other giants are doing. So it's really helped us because it's created awareness that there's this disruption in a 22 trillion a year retail industry, millions of locations where our technology can help retailers now in combine technology in their existing stores. So whereas traditionally automated retail was creating a new channel, we're part of an omni-channel strategy where the brands and retailers have online and they have traditional stores, and we were creating a new channel, part of their go-to-market strategy. Now what Amazon and the giants in online are doing, they have very sophisticated back-end systems, and when you can combine that with the automation of technology in a grab-and-go or automated retail experience for the consumer, it's very disruptive. And now the retail industry has to compete to exist. So they are now investing. And obviously there's no other company in the world that has what we have. We've been doing it for a while. There's been dozens of engineers. Every 3 weeks we're doing a push to the platform at the back end, taking people and guesswork out of the process. So we've got this amazing platform to help us compete with like the grab and go solution. We've added AI vision and sensor-based delivery systems. So we started with robotic, which is secure. That's where you have product in a room or a cabinet that you can't touch. You have to interact, and the robot will deliver it to you. So it's like
classic vending machine experience,
like a elegant high-end vending machine experience with a lot of technology added. Today we have small format robotic stores like you see in the airports. We have large format autonomous robots, so I can turn this room into a robotic store and lay out your shelves, put the robot in the room, and put a purchase point. We haven't launched that here in the
Can
US.
it do my work for me too?
Do a little bit of certain work. If you need something, you can tell it what you want. It'll get it for you. But so that's where we're going with the secure robotic, and that's great for high value product. You'll never be able to sell pharmaceuticals or alcohol or $1,000 items in a grab and go experience like Amazon Go. But Amazon Go is great for food and beverage and low value, maybe accessories in a store or high margin, lower value product. It's a great experience for the consumer. So we've added the ability to put cameras in a room and on the shelf, and with our AI vision technology offer the same experience. We've also launched in January that AI vision technology in a cabinet. So we have cabinets where you have the credit card reader or present your app to the QR code reader, and then we unlock the door. And then whatever you take out of the cabinet, you're billed for. Whatever you put back, you're credited. when you close the door, you get your shopping cart, you walk away. It's a great experience for the
I remember
consumer.
my first time with something like that. I think I grabbed a cold brew coffee out of there, and it seemed like magic.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
Yeah.
And so we have these technologies, and we have secure, so we can do a store of the future for a retailer, or we can equip the secure robotic, for example, high theft products in retail that may be locked down and you have to find a person with a key or go to the customer service counter. We can automate that in the front of the store or in the aisle of a store. So that technology, we can, when you lock product down, sales halve, and it's not a great customer experience. So we can solve that problem for any retailer. And most retailers, and in Japan, it's not such a problem because it's a very honorable society, but there are areas where stores are unprofitable or lines of business are unprofitable for a brand or a retailer. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
And we can solve that. But that's one problem we solve. Today, we're in the flagship stores of the largest convenience retailer, automating parcel pickup and returns. So there's not too many retailers that aren't interested in combining their physical store footprint with online. And we can automate the whole buy online, pick up in store, return in store. Once a brand or retailer onboards with us, we have several APIs so that we can integrate with payment systems, their financial systems, supply chain, their loyalty systems. Once they onboard with any piece of our technology to our platform, the whole portfolio is available to them. So we really have this suite of AI vision with sensor-based grab-and-go type experience. We have the secure robotic in various form factors. We have locker systems for parcel pickup or delivery.
Yeah.
And so this whole suite of hardware all runs on one platform and is available to brands and retailers. So in summary, I think what the online giants are doing is very smart, and it's showing the retail and brand world what they need to do. And we're here to help.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. So Gower, this has been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate all the knowledge you've shared in your story. Viewers, thank you for joining us. And until next time.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate your time.